Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to tonight's episode of the Franchising 360 Show. I am Tim Parmeter. With me, as always, is Danielle Wright.
Hello.
Danielle, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
We have lots to talk about tonight about a fun and a little bit of a scary topic in franchising.
Which I'm really excited about. What does it say about
labor. So we had last week Raymond in Boise, Idaho.
Yes.
The fun recipient of one of these Franchising 360 Show mugs.
If we actually get it mailed out.
So, and please keep sending in some questions. The Franchising Show, what is it again? The Franchising360show.com. We still have a whole box of these in the house, so let's get rid of these suckers. But Raymond was asking about labor, interested in owning a business, but labor and having a staff and employees and stuff can feel a little scary. And kind of his question was really, should it?
Should it feel scary?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
It's employing people, right? Does it scare you? It scares me. I don't like doing it. Do you like doing it?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And
tell us about your experience.
On the slim chance anybody with Fran coaches listening, I love all of you. It's people in the past, but no, it is, because there are some franchises, not very many, that you could own where you really could just be one person.
Yes.
Right.
And they're set up that way.
Not a lot, but again, that's also goes back to labor, right? If you're really like, I don't want anybody else, I want to just do it all my own. There are things like that.
There's different types of labor.
Correct.
So
yes.
Tell us a little bit about the different types of labor when you're talking to Fran coach clients.
Yeah. So this is a big thing that we talk to folks about, that most people are like, oh, I didn't even know that was something that I had to think about. Right. And so we'll talk about it in kind of 5 different categories. Well,
five categories.
Right?
Okay.
So number 1, you could just not have anybody and do it yourself.
Right.
Right.
Owner operator.
And again, not very many things like, it's not like, oh, well, can I own a McDonald's and be by myself? No. Right. There's things specific to that. And then there's the one that people don't usually think about is subcontractors.
Okay.
Which can be even scarier than employing people, but really isn't.
That's what they call 1099, right?
Right.
Okay.
And so then the main 3 is we can have somebody that does kind of sales/management.
Okay.
But the 2 that throw people off are skilled labor and unskilled labor.
What's the difference?
So great question, because they're complete opposites. So skilled labor is, these people are licensed, trained, certified to do what you need them to do.
Give me an example.
Plumber, electrician, the girl who cuts the hair at Great Clips.
Esthetician.
Okay,
that
right?
person.
So I own a Great Clips. I'm not teaching her how to cut hair. I don't have hair. I can't teach anybody to do that. Nor is the owner, should I be jumping in, hey, Danielle, I got an empty chair.
Teach them that, right?
No. And again, as you know, typically in franchising, they don't want the owner being the doer, right? But that's skilled labor. So you have to be comfortable managing people, doing stuff you didn't teach them how to do.
Okay.
And can't and really shouldn't do. Okay. So that's skilled. Unskilled is the opposite. Now we're teaching our employees to do what we need them to do. Learnable things, flip a burger, wash the window,
scoop ice cream,
right? Things that we could do as an owner, right?
Okay.
We own an ice cream shop. Could I be back there scooping ice cream? Yes, but that's not my job, right? Usually also with unskilled, there's kind of an ability to level up. Right? Maybe you start out like prepping the food, and then you learn how to make the fries, and maybe you're an assistant manager someday.
Okay.
Right? So, but those skilled and unskilled are really kind of, I think, the 2 biggest dynamics in this that people don't necessarily really think how important that is.
So let's go over that again. The first one was what?
All by yourself.
Second one is?
We can sub out labor. So I don't employ them. I just pay them when I use them.
Okay. Third one is? Sales. Okay. I'm going to put a pin in that for later.
Yes.
Fourth one was?
Skilled.
And fifth one is?
Unskilled.
Okay. Are we going to talk about those in more detail as we move forward?
It seems like a pretty good idea to do, right? And so, but I think there's 2 things. There's understanding for people thinking about becoming a franchise owner, which of those or which combination of those is best.
Okay.
And for us, most people don't really know. So being able to explore some different things is key, but at least understanding it's important. And then where you can weigh in is you're not, again, the franchise, there's a plan. There is going to be support and help. And as like you and I are both quick to point out, it's help, it's not due, right? The franchise isn't going to.
Right. They're not going to hire for you.
Right. No,
so I was going to jump
right.
in and be like, I get a lot of questions about that. Like, how do you help us with staff? Well, I can't hire them for you.
Right.
I really legally can't interview them for you. Like, I can give you the tools for success. And like with anything in franchising, it's tools in a toolbox.
Right.
You have to deploy those assets out into your market, into your business.
You have to use those tools and then use the support when it is
phone
really
a friend.
needed.
There's always phone a friend.
There is always that in franchising. So let's talk a little bit more about kind of understanding which of those labor models, and then some of the ways in which the franchise can, again, support, help, not do with that. Let's do that when we come back here on the Franchising 360 show. All right, we are back on the Franchising 360 show, talking about that super scary part of becoming a business owner. We may well need to hire people.
Yes.
Yikes.
Right. I didn't buy myself a job.
Well, though there's nothing wrong with it if you did.
Correct.
But no, and again, there are some things where you can just start out by yourself, but the majority of things we're gonna kind of need people to build this sucker up.
Yes.
Right. So
need people. Hiring now.
Skilled and unskilled, very different. But there's things people are going to think about with both of those. That I think the mind tends to go to the negative a lot of times first versus the positive.
Yeah, your bad experiences.
Right. Like,
we've had one of those.
Right. Ooh, skilled labor. Right. Like, what have you heard people talk about with that?
Hard to manage. Don't really take direction. Like they
I
do
know
the
how
thing
to do
that they
it.
do.
You can't tell me you don't know how to do it.
Right. And the franchise is pretty particular about, hey, you can deliver the service, but there is a branded way to deliver the service. I think I instantly go to health, wellness, and beauty. A massage is a massage, right? And there's a way that you are trained to deliver that service. But the franchise brings in the element of guest experience, which continues to keep the franchise, moving and making money and keeping you employed. But there's generally a clash per se on the skilled labor with management and the vision of that direction.
Right. And that's, I think, almost everybody, at least that we talk to with Fran Coach, when we talk about staff, their mind goes to all the things that can go wrong or all the challenges versus the positives, right? So you talk about that, or even like with skilled, you've got a smaller pool from which to pull.
Sometimes, yes, right.
For that, or like, well, I don't know.
I have a positive on the skilled.
Oh wait, we got positives to labor?
Yes, on the skilled.
What is it?
Yes, because once you find one that's good, like one person that they are connected to other people in that same industry, and their big thing is, I don't want to work for someone I don't want to work for.
Right.
What is it they always say? People leave people, not jobs.
Right.
And they come to you for the same thing. They come to work for certain people, not necessarily the job. So the positive is if you treat one well and they love what they're doing, they're going to bring all of their colleagues and friends, and you're going to have a really great opportunity.
And there just tends to be more stickiness, right? Because these are this is their profession.
Yeah, they've chosen
to do this. Yeah. They want a good place in which to go practice their
craft. Kind of like franchising. I just fell into it, and here I am.
Right. Exactly. So unskilled. Now, again, everybody's going to go to the negative. Oh man, unskilled. Danielle, like, what are all the things that can go wrong there?
So many things could go wrong, but your New Year's resolution was positivity, so I'm guessing you're going to go
Yeah, but I'm actually
negative.
positive. I'm just sharing the negative things that we hear.
And I'm going to go more positive, is that you can teach them to do it the way it needs to be done.
Right.
And if you find those groups of people, which again, this is the hard part. It's not actually what you're saying. It's finding of people where it becomes a little bit more difficult.
But this is where it goes back to with franchising. It's so individualized and personalized, right? If you're hearing the difference between skilled and unskilled, and you're kind of leaning towards one a little bit more, that probably tells us those are type of franchises we need.
And maybe you don't even know.
Right.
Most
people don't.
We have a very good friend that owned a business that wasn't necessarily skilled labor. It was more contractual and unskilled, but it was a craft in itself, and she thought she'd be great at it. But come to find out, she really doesn't like those types of employees.
Right. Nor did they like her.
I don't know if it was the employee or the type of work.
Yep.
And you got to kind of understand that too when you're looking at a franchise. These are the hurdles that a business owner and that business are going to experience every day. And you either have to get right in your mind that this is okay, this is what it is, and it's not what it does. It was basically more of a recruitment model than it was the business that it was delivering.
Right.
And so you have to be okay having that constant turnover per se, and just, what is it we always said in the junk removal, always be hiring. Like that just was your job as the owner, is to always be hiring.
And we talk about that all the time with our clients, and I use it in reference to the old movie Glengarry Glen Ross will always be closing. And so, but it is.
I love when you give movie references and they just go right over my head.
I know. So if you're young, Google that. Us old people are going to know that reference. But what you have to always be. Well, you don't have to, but it would be really wise to kind of always be hiring. So you're building that funnel. And again, if you're going to be negative, well, when Billy quits, then I'm already hiring. But what about when your business is growing?
Right.
We need another.
Look at you with the positive.
See, I told you that was my resolution.
Yeah.
Now, if I can just get to the 10-pound thing. And then there's the whole subcontractors. Yeah. Probably a little bit more in home service type of things where that can happen. And
Health, Wellness, Beauty does it too. I mean, but there's to the point that you're talking about, then there's the stickiness. You're not as likely to have them stay a long time and participate in your business and the growth of it and be there for those inflection points, because you're not bound to them. They're not bound to you. They can go and do that whole gig economy thing.
Right. If they're not cutting it, like you cut them.
Yep.
But the flip is, these are people that want to do the work, don't know how to find it. You're kind of their meal ticket.
Okay. That's a good way to look at it
too.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk a little bit about how franchisors, some of the ways they can support and help.
So you're not on the island alone trying to figure out this labor problem.
Because I've heard us talk about in the past, I think there's a plan or something with the franchise.
The plans.
So let's come back to that here on the Franchising 360 show right after this. All right, we are back on the Franchising 360 show. We are talking about labor. Having employees can be a scary thing. We talked about some of the different types of labor.
Yeah, which were what? 5 types. Go back through them. Ready?
You're expecting me to have paid attention to what I said. So we can do this by ourselves.
Yep.
We can subcontract labor.
Yep.
We can have salespeople.
Yes.
We can have skilled labor.
Okay.
And we can have unskilled labor.
Awesome.
Sweet.
There's the 5.
Got it.
Yeah.
So
good job.
And some of the positives and negatives of both, but are we out there on an island as a franchise owner with this? Talk about the ways in which a franchise can help. And again, can't stress this enough, folks. Help, not do. What are some of those things for a franchise?
So a franchise is going to give you job descriptions. They're going to give you ideal candidates, backgrounds, things to think about. ChatGPT, we love that. So you can do this yourself, but the franchisor is going to kind of tee you up. They've done it before. They've hired before. They kind of know what to look for. The thing that they're not going to do is interview them. They're not going to tell you which person to choose. Right. They're just going to be there as like a phone a friend. I know I say that a lot, but you've got them to kind of say, hey, I've got these candidates that I really like. I've interviewed them. I'm really stuck between 1 or 2. They can jump in and you can kind of give them an overview, maybe do a phone interview, but they're not going to tell you who to hire. Right. That's on you as a business owner to do that. But I think the bigger piece, and I think you and I have talked about this at length on sidebar conversations, is a franchise is going to really support you in the retention of an employee. Right. That's the biggest. When we talk about being scared of labor, it's not necessarily finding people. There are people out there that are going to work and that are going to show up, but people don't work jobs. They work with people. They work for people. Right. So I think the biggest piece that a franchisor can give a franchisee is that support and how do you retain quality people? And it's not always how much money I'm paying them.
Right. Like, no, exactly.
People work because they want to make a wage. They know that they're going to make a wage because I am working to make a wage. But they want to enjoy what they do. We're here for a short, infinite amount of time. So why not do something that we want to do versus something we have to do?
Right. And again, the compensation is part of that. Like, hey, this is what that should look like, but it is up to you to be able to manage them. And then I think also the part that gets forgotten sometimes in the support structure of a franchise system is other owners, right? They're out there in that system too. They've already done this. And in most cases, there's going to be an owner go, yeah, boy, I totally screwed that up. Well, how come? Well, I kind of deviated from the plan a little bit. And then I think almost everybody that looks at a franchise, and certainly our team at Fran Coach works with, they've managed people before in a job. Yeah. They've interviewed people for jobs.
Yes.
But then they're going to go, oh, I've done that before. Yeah. But not for your business and not in this particular industry. That's a huge switch.
Yeah. Well, and when it's your money, right?
Yes.
Like when it's your money, a little bit of a different situation. So I think we have a lot of stories about our friends that have been in business, and this is a big piece for them. They don't necessarily like the labor. They don't want to have to pay them because again, it's your dollars going out. And if you're not seeing, it's that see me thing. You work really hard and you have, and like there's a figure it out situation. Right. Not everybody has that.
Right.
And so you're expecting this out of somebody else. It's like level set your expectation. I love what you just said about franchisees because I think we all forget, we say these words community in the franchisor world, and we're meaning that for our customers, our guests, the people that come and use our products and our services. But we forget when we're creating the best community of all, it's franchise owners together. Right. And that's a great thing about franchising. Again, glass half full over here. The great thing about franchising is people have done it before you. So why mess up? There's no opportunity for you to really, when we talked about legal, everybody's scared about the worst case scenarios. But the reality is if you take the lessons that were learned by others, there shouldn't be a way for you to mess it up.
Right. It becomes pretty hard you got to really kind of try to do it. And again, you have to find the right fit, right? And again, that goes into labor. If you really are not at all comfortable managing skilled labor, then don't go into a franchise that requires that, right?
Or get a clear understanding how to manage it. Right? Maybe you do have the skill set. You've never done it.
Right.
Maybe you actually really can do it. But again, talk to those franchise owners and kind of get a feel for that. Maybe had similar backgrounds to you.
Because there is a lot of a perception of, well, this is what I've done before, therefore I should do that moving forward.
Right. And we've talked about that on this show.
Not always, right? And you do have to kind of be open to that. And I think the other thing that we tell folks a lot is, plan for you're going to say, well, plan for the worst, but also plan for the growth, right?
Yes.
So always be hiring. I think there are times where you can look at, in like maybe a home service, and this may be more unskilled. Maybe you can find a temp agency. Like if Billy and Bobby call in sick, well, I know I've got a relationship over here. I can bring these people in.
And it's the worst case scenario in that situation. It's the backup to the backup to the backup, right?
But what if you get a sports, big? But what if you get a big job, right? All of a sudden, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we need more people. I know I've already thought of that next plan to be able to bring people in to fill in or to grow, right? So
big player gets hurt. What are you doing? You're calling in the third string.
And then when that doesn't work, they called in me. So, but we're going to come back with a couple little stories about labor, the good, the bad, the ugly, here on the Franchising 360 show right after this. And we're back here on the Franchising 360 show talking about labor and staff and how franchises can help. One of the things we tend to ask our clients at Fran Coach when they start looking at this, I'm like, think of labor, like, have you ever had a bad boss? And
they haven't, they're lying.
Right. But almost everybody kind of giggles. And then sometimes I've had a few people rattle off several names. And I'm like, one was enough. But Danielle, have you had a bad boss?
Yes.
Do
you want me to elaborate?
I think we all have. But I think one of the things...
and I left that job. There you go.
Did you leave it because of the job or the boss?
Maybe a little bit of the job. But probably a lot more about the boss.
A lot more the boss.
She was tough. Tough. That's all I have to say about that.
And I
PTSD.
I remember having one years ago, and I kind of got promoted into a new role where that boss used to be. And I'd had some other really good mentors before that. But when I got to one of those inflection points of like, should I do this or this? I didn't think about the good ones. I thought about the bad one. What would he do? Do the opposite. Right. And so that is think of that when you become a franchise owner. Like, remember those bad bosses. Don't be that person.
Right. And that's to the labor piece that we're talking about. Like, you're only going to retain your employees if you're someone that people want to work for. And if it's not you that's doing the forward facing with the employees, it's a management person.
Yes.
Then make sure you're hiring that management person that maybe has that ability to be a great forward facing boss.
You and
I hate the word boss.
You and I frequent a franchise that is a sandwich place.
Yes.
Perhaps named after a state in some way, shape, or form.
Maybe.
And we were there one time a few years back, and there was as it turned out, we found out later, was the manager literally berating employees
in front of customers,
like a big line of people,
middle of lunch.
And you did the wife thing where because I had enough. I was about to say something, and you grabbed my hand and dug. My hand still hurts from your nails.
2 years later, okay.
Yeah, I've had to have some therapy over it, but it was so bad, and we would go in there a week later, and you would not see the same face.
Yeah.
In there. Like,
I mean, he was there for a little bit, right? But then once he was gone, the look of the employees in and around making these sandwiches was night and day different. And I think the store even did better with that person not being there, because he just was a little much.
Yes. And again, if you're going to treat your employees poorly, they will not be your employees for long.
Correct. And I don't think we saw the same people at that shop, because to your point, we did frequently, we weren't there every day, but that could be the reason why you have 12 extra pounds. I don't really know. But the reality is once that person was gone, we actually saw the same people there working there and seemed pretty happy with what they were doing. Yeah.
And I mentioned this to folks a lot is, so if I ask the question, hey, after your first year in business, what should be your best lead source for new staff?
Yeah.
Right. And there's just like complete silence. I'm like, your existing employees. If they're not referring their friends and family to work where they work because they enjoy it, you're not doing the right thing.
And we're good about stories. We can call this one out specifically. So my son, 16, works at a local pizza place, would not have gone and gotten a job, but his best friend works there. Other friends work there. They had such a great experience that he now works there. And it's like, now you've got your whole team at the same place that you work in. Guess what? You get some good benefits.
Yep. And again, that's a place they do a good job taking care of their employees and have a lot of kind
flexibility
of
schedule,
repeats and older brothers and younger sisters and all of that. So it's really
that should be the ambition of a franchise owner. It's don't look at the negative that I have to hire people. Look at how you can give great people great opportunities for forward advancement.
Yep. And again, if they're happy, they're going to be like, their friends are going to be customers, their family, they're going to want to work there.
And to your point, they can grow within the franchise. So if you have a successful franchise, as you franchisee Tim, I may look to do a second location. I may look to do a different franchise brand. But if you've taught them that skill, that trade, and you've helped to bring them along, they're likely to stay with you for the journey and go into other avenues with you.
Yep. There's so many stories. People look down sometimes on McDonald's workers, but there's so many stories of people that started their first job. I've got a client right now. He's a doctor. Like, his first job was at McDonald's, right? And he talked about how, like, the work ethic and all of those things. So really, it comes down to you as that owner. Again, you have
you see your role in the business, right? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Right. Do you want your customers happy? Do you want your employees happy?
Right.
Like,
but if the employees are happy, right?
Customers will be happy too as well. Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that, and I think you and I could go on and about the labor stuff, and it
doesn't scare us, even though you started it with the scare tactic. I'm like, it doesn't scare me. It's there's a problem, and here's the resolution.
Right.
There you go.
It's the fun part, and anytime people are like, labor issues, there's management and leadership issues, and just don't be that person.
Right.
Basically.
That's it.
So
be a good human.
So thanks again to Raymond out in Boise for sending in that question. TheFranchising360show.com. Send something in. We'll send you one of these amazing mugs. But until next week.
Yes. It's Tim Parmeter.
That's me. I'm Tim Parmeter. You're Danielle Wright. And this is the Franchising 360 Show. We'll see you next week.